Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. 13 tracks, 44 minutes. This is the soundtrack to the film This is Spinal Tap, in case you didn't know that. Released March 1984 via Polydor Records, produced by Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer. Not a lot of info regarding singles or chart performance. This is notable, however, for certain songs from the film missing from this release, and also had a re-release in 2000 with two versions of Christmas with the Devil as bonus tracks, which is the one we've got here with us. Go for it.
This is a genius album, and it was a genius film in a lot of ways. Spinal Tap and everything that goes on with it is just awesome. I love Christopher Guest movies anyway. This is probably his well-known one, but probably his best film. But I do love the music. It just treads the line beautifully between comedy and actually good music, and I think it treads it pretty damn well. There's just a magic to Spinal Tap in the film, and even on an album. I think they've really, really captured it well. It's a piss take, but it's delivered sort of deadpan. It's like delivered in a way that it believes that you do believe they're taking themselves seriously, even though they're quite obviously not. The film and the albums are just absolute classics. The real problem with this album is the absence of Lick My Love Pump. That should be on there. What a mistake. I think Big Bottom is one of the greatest musical achievements ever achieved by anyone.
Should have been sent on the Gemini probe.
If you've ever seen it live where they're all playing bass, and there was one when they got together at one of the music festivals, and they had Buddy Hetfield and all these other guys, and everyone playing a bass. Not a guitarist to be seen. It's just bloody fantastic. If you're in a band, if you've ever been in a band, if you know people in a band, at some point everyone's had a Spinal Tap moment. As soon as you say that, they know exactly what it means. This has become part of pop culture, and it's essential viewing and listening, I think, for everyone. I give it 9 out of 10. I love it. Highlights: Big Bottom, Sex Farm, Stonehenge, Hellhole, and Listen to the Flower People.
So, I unbelievably, this is my first time listening to this album.
What?
Believe it or not, yes.
And you're in the same band.
I loved this movie, but I never sought out the album. I don't know why. This is really an excellent album, as I expected. I knew all the songs from the movie. But if you've ever seen the movie and you know anything about the band, it basically delivers what it should, which is the lyrics are really clever and really well written. The songwriting is really clever and very smart. Everything is delivered really well, and like you said, it's as if they're taking themselves seriously when you know that they're not, and that's the real genius of it. The standout track for me is Stonehenge, because it was not crushed by a midget, and 8 out of 10. I love this album.
I don't get the same joke out of the album that I do from the movie. There are some cool songs on here, and some moments that remind me of the movie that make me laugh, Stonehenge being one of them. So as soon as that song starts, you just think of the fucking thing coming down. But as a complete listener, it's a bit all over the place. There are moments when it's almost serious, like Heavy Duty and Hellhole. They're good rock songs. The comedy songs on their own, outside the context of the movie, are a bit cringeworthy, like Cups and Cakes and Big Bottoms. It's just a bit... it really needs a movie for it. It's an album that the songs I'll go to and I'll listen to over and over, but I won't listen to the whole thing all the way through. Overall, 6 out of 10. Stonehenge, Heavy Duty, and Hellhole are my standouts.
The one thing that stands out for me with this whole movie, band, whatever, is that the comedians involved actually wrote the music. That's the cool thing about this when you dig into it. And for how this is a parody act for a movie, they're remarkably proficient at what they do. They're not well-beating, that's not the case, but they can certainly more than hold their own. They play well on this, and it's just that little bit rough around the edges, which gives that live feel to this as an album to listen to. The songs are well composed, extremely tongue-in-cheek at points, but the composition is really cool. Pure vintage hard rock to metal on this, nothing complicated, but it's fun, entertaining, well-written, and obviously ties into the movie nicely. The lyrics are fantastic. This is old school comedy at its best. You won't get another one like this anymore. They do just enough to suck you in and then hook you. You don't expect it with the punchline. And the punchlines come from a bit left of centre, which is the fun part of listening to it in this context. It's great in the way it baits you, so you're not entirely certain, as we're saying, if they're taking the piss or if they're being serious. They bait you. It becomes very clear very quickly at certain points, but that moment where you're not quite sure... how deluded are they right now? That's the part that's the best. The production's aged a little bit, not one of those ones that stands test of time, but it's not terrible at all. It just sounds like it came from a time that's not as vibrant as now. Everything's pretty well captured. They've used more studio tricks to really flesh this out nicely. The performance is well captured and balanced. I love the use of reverb and panning on this too. It gives a 3D perception, and the layering of things is really well done. Like the vintage hard rock is done really well in that regard. This has a bit of theatre about it and suits the whole thing. Like you got to take it as a whole package, but just listen to the album itself, it's really well done. Some of the unexpected twists and turns this thing takes is fantastic. They do things in a metal band that you're supposed to be crucified for and get away with it, and that's the fun part about this whole thing. It's ridiculous, over the top, but they pull it off damn well. Solid track order as much as they can do in the context of what they're doing with this. Keeps this one interesting and entertaining on repeat listens as well. And I love little nods to classical music they've put in this here and there. That's really cool. But the parody is damn well done. This takes the piss out of the whole music industry machine. It takes the piss out of everything. Nothing is sacred, and that is the fundamental coolest part of the whole thing. Yeah. If any artist starts to get to be a little bit too serious in what they're doing, check this out and check yourself in the process. Yeah. It's not complicated, it's just fun rocking satire done pretty damn well. Certainly worth checking out for sure. Not sure how often it'll get a spin overall, but it has a fair bit of nostalgia about it at the same time. I got a 7.5 out of 10. Heavy duty rock and roll creation, sex farm, and big bottom. Check it out for yourselves and let us know what you think.
Talk about mud flaps, my girl's gone. Talk about bum cakes, my girl's gone. Genius.
Who wants to go first on bad news?
Yeah, okay.
Alright.